Hi, let me introduce myself. My name is Wes Driscoll. I am the lead guitar player for the up-and-coming punk, ska, reggae, Irish, drinking, country, whatever you want to call this band, the Bastard Sons. I decided to start doing some video blogs because I always got things going on in my mind, thinking about things, what's going on, so I figured I would start sharing some of the thoughts that are going on in my head and figured, hey, maybe I could help somebody. Might ruffle a few feathers. Who knows? We'll wait and see what comes in the future. Let's start off with, I'm going to introduce myself on this first blog. Again, my name is Wes Driscoll. I was born in Gastonia, North Carolina. I'm one of identical twins. I grew up mostly in North Carolina, moved around a good bit, and then eventually landed in Atlanta, Georgia when I was 24 years of age. And within a couple months of living there, I was lucky to meet a young, aspiring singer-songwriter named Clayton Hires. He had a little band called the Bastard Sons, and they needed a lead guitar player. Well, the rest is history. 9 years later, still in the Bastard Sons, done 10 national tours, played with many great bands, met some of the most amazing people I could have ever asked to meet. So I'm very blessed to be here and do what I do for a living. So I figured I would help share some of the motivations and stuff that have helped push me in my life. As for one, you definitely got to just chase your dream. Whatever your dream is, go after that. As long as I can remember, I started listening to music when I was 5 years of age. First album I ever listened to was Meet the Beatles. I remember it was my father's Technique turntable on top of this huge sound system, and he put the big brown headphones from the 1980s. Yes, the 80s. I'm aging myself here right now. And he put on Meet the Beatles, and I listened to the entire album forward and backwards. And from that day forward, whatever album I wanted to listen to, I just pick it up and go take it to my dad and be like, "Hey Dad, I gotta listen to this." And then it started off my first ever album I ever owned, and it was an album, it was a 45 that I owned. It was Billy Idol's Mony Mony. Yes, Billy Idol, that's right. And then from there I got into bands like Poison and Motley Crue, and Guns N' Roses was a huge influence on me. Growing up there and as a young kid in the mid to late 80s when I started to realize what's going on in life, and especially with music. I was probably the only 8-year-old on my block walking around with a Walkman and like 3 or 4 tapes taking up his pockets because that's what he loved the most, was listening to music. So that's where I started playing guitar at 12 years of age. I was one of those. I always respect and love my father for it. He made me work for it. He bought me a cheap guitar out of a pawn shop that I still own to this day. And he said, "Here's a little Mel Bay guitar book. Show me what you got for 1 year, and we'll talk about getting you lessons." I got that guitar actually when I was 11 years of age. At 12, he had no choice but to give me lessons because I had mastered that book front to back and still wouldn't put the guitar down. And once I took lessons, my very first lesson, I learned to play "Knocking on Heaven's Door" by Bob Dylan. And as a big Guns N' Roses fan at that age, I had just gotten their Use Your Illusions albums, and they did a killer version of Bob Dylan's "Knocking on Heaven's Door." And that was the first time I learned about covers as well. I went to my dad, I was like, "Hey Dad, you gotta check out this song, "Knocking on Heaven's Door" by Guns N' Roses." He goes, "You mean Bob Dylan?" I was like, "Guns N' Roses." He goes, "Bob Dylan." "Guns N' Roses." He goes, "Go look at the liner of the CD." I looked at the liner of the tape, actually, and he was correct. Under it said writer B. Dylan. So that's when I learned about covers and learned to appreciate the past and realize that there are great songs that could be redone in so many different styles and introduce new generations to great artists like Bob Dylan and such. So from there, guitar became my life. Guitar and skateboarding. I was always into the extreme sports. You see the surfboard right behind me on my left, and got my Get Fiddle on my right. These are, doing things like that have always been very important to me, very fun. I was a big skater until, well, a little bit of accident, put a metal plate in my left arm, so now I just surf because the water's way more forgiving. But back to playing music, that became my life from age 12, 13 on. Played in multiple bands until I found the Bastard Sons. And spent 8 years in the city of Atlanta, and I thank everybody I've met and known and loved in the city of Atlanta. You helped me to grow so much into who I am today. And I now have spent this past year or so down in Satellite Beach, Florida. Some may ask, why did I leave Atlanta for Satellite Beach, Florida? If you've ever been to Satellite Beach, Florida, you understand. After living for 8 years in Atlanta, I spent the previous couple years in Charlotte, North Carolina, living in the city. So once you've done the city living for a while, I'll tell you what, living 2 blocks from the beach, no complaints here. So, but that's also part of who I am. I was always an adventurer, a traveler. Even as a kid, my parents they've told me stories, and I remember one time leaving my parents' house when I was like 6 years of age, living in Durham, North Carolina. I hopped on my bike and was like, you know what? I know all the kids on this block, this little cul-de-sac. Who else is out there? Who else can I meet and go hang out with? So I took off for a bike ride before anybody woke up. Probably pedaled about a couple miles away from the house, traveling through neighborhoods, and saw a kid that was out playing. Went over, introduced myself, and we started hanging out in the backyard. And I remember I was climbing this tree in his backyard, and his mom goes, "Hey, question, what is your phone number?" And so I told her my phone number. And while I was in the top of the tree, she called my mom to explain to my mom where her 6-year-old son was at 7:30, 8 o'clock in the morning. So the traveling, the adventure has always been a big part of who I am. And I've gotten to where I am because of that. And that's what I always encourage to all my friends. You know, tomorrow is not guaranteed. So if there's a place you want to go, something you want to do, a hobby you want to learn, go for it. Don't put up any walls or barriers. I never did. I grew up in a small town where I probably should have just gotten out of school, gone to college, got married, popped out some little youngins, and hey, that should have been my life. But I made choices that led me in a different direction. I said, you know what? I want to play music. I want to see the world. The world is bigger than Gastonia, North Carolina. And it is. And I've seen so much of it so far. Well, the U.S. mostly. I'll get out of the country soon enough. Don't you worry. I'll get out. But, so that's what I encourage to everybody. That's been a huge driving force in me is tomorrow's not guaranteed. So get out there. You know, I've got many friends who are chasing photography, modeling, that are tattoo artists, fellow musicians, actors, actresses, directors, writers. And you know what I love about every one of them? No matter how successful they get in terms of society and life, they're already successful. Because they went after what they love. They went after what they want to do with their lives. And those are the people to respect. Because the hardest thing for anybody to do in life is step out of your comfort zone and take a risk. And that's what I've always done. Hey, I got metal plates in my arm. I've moved all over the southeast in order just to chase a dream. I took risk. I left home. I've lost touch with all my old friends I grew up with. Yeah, some of us are friends on Facebook, but we don't talk, you know. But that's how it goes. I took the risk, and part of every action has a reaction. And the reaction to me leaving my hometown and moving on and seeing what the rest of this country and this world has to offer me, you know, I lost some people. But you know what? I have no hate, no unhappiness in my heart. I want to see them do well. And I hope they all prosper. Everyone I've ever known or loved that's come in and out of my life, do know I think about you here and there. And I hope you're doing well. And I hope there's a smile on your face and whatever you're doing. Most importantly, you're happy. That's the number one thing in life. John Lennon was once asked in college, what do you want to be when you grow up? He said, happy. The professor said, I don't think you understand the question. John Lennon's response was, I don't think you understand life. So get out there, enjoy life. It's amazing where I have begun and where I'm at now. The chances I took, pushing my band to take that first tour across the country. That one risk where we had no idea what was going to happen. None of us have ever been over there, especially driven over there. It was one of the best tours of my life, best experiences, eye-opening. I've seen this beautiful country in and out. It's a risk I've taken. And there's been the ups and downs. Don't think it's been all fun. There's definitely the pros and cons to every angle of this. But do understand, life is good. Life is fun. Get out there, experience it. Until next time, this is Wes Driscoll. Have a great day.